Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kits and cubs. Welcome to part 2 of our True North Eager Beaver interview project episode. So technically, this is episode 84, a Q&A session with our guest military historian, Kit Hugh, who we will bring in right now. There you go. Good day, sir. Thank you. Oh, you got the light from the window flashing a little brightly
I'm sorry.
on the screen.
I will move. How's that?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So again, very briefly, big thank you to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. No need for a long intro. Let's just get into it because the questions are coming fast and furious already. We have from Kit Linda M. wants to know what you think of the F-35 versus the Gripen's purchases and where that decision might land, what ramifications it could have if we choose against the United States.
Okay. The F-35 is a functionally an incredibly good airplane for what it does. It's not that it's a fighter per se. It is a multi-role modern plane that is capable of coordinating and controlling a variety of pilotless drones and things like that. So we're rapidly moving out of the realm of manned interceptors into the realm of unmanned like combat vehicles. Doesn't mean they're not controlled by people, but it means a lot of them are being controlled by either AI aboard or specific functions are controlled through telemetry with a ground station where the pilot is. F-35 was designed for this environment. They have something that in NATO we refer to as Link 22, which is a data connection system that links every computer in from aircraft to submarines to ships to soldiers to drones to artillery shells to absolutely everything together so that it can be coordinated. Gripen can do a heck of a lot of that too. Gripen is not as capable as F-35 in some regards, but as the question suggests, is it a good idea for us? Well, the Royal Air Force did not win the Battle of Britain flying Messerschmitts. For us, we're now in an adversarial position with the country that we're buying our equipment from is stupid. I've reviewed the Gripen deal very carefully. We have a tremendous numbers of workarounds. One of the critiques against going with the Gripen is like, or the F-35 as well. We have to use American plants in the Gripen. Well, not necessarily. General Electric does make aircraft engines for the Gripen, but so does Rolls-Royce. And in fact, that Rolls-Royce is working with Saab right now, so we can source out our contracts completely separate from the United States. Add to that the fact that the Gripen deal is vastly more investment oriented to Canada and to improving our ability to take that product and modify it in our own ways and then resell it and sell our own. So it's a very good deal for us. So do we go ahead with F-35? No. How do we do that, though? Once you make a decision in politics, and Douglas, you're a communications expert, so you know this far better than I do. Once you make a decision, you're sort of locking yourself into a pathway. By kicking the can down the road, we're buying ourselves time to come up with the best option to see what's going to be happening in the future. I think that the decision's already been made not to go with the F-35 for a variety of reasons. I mean, Trump himself told us that we would be getting dumbed down versions, and yeah, I think Gripen is probably a better deal. Plus, we can fairly easily integrate that into our systems already. It's compatible with everything in NATO.
Okay, perfect. The next question that we sort of have here is from Kit Bucky, who has some diplomatic experience. So, wondering on this front, says, we've been talking about the US and NATO aspects of the Trump eras, including authoritarianism, but I note it's an issue in Southeast Asia, South Asia, and elsewhere. What can Canada do globally to advocate for democracy?
What can we do to advocate for democracy globally? Basically, I would say continuing with a firm policy based on the goals of international cooperation and stability, and doing our best diplomatically to work with allies around the world, including China, including India especially, to build more stability and security. Canada's, like, I have to say that the change in Canada over the last 24 months has been very profound. We've gone from being essentially a vassal state of the United States to being an independent actor in the world stage. If you read foreign newspapers and diplomatic cables about what people are thinking about the way things are going, Canada's stock with respect to other nations is fairly high. I think what we do is we leverage that to the best of our ability. It's always better if you're in a defensive alliance to be in a defensive alliance with similar sized countries. So not one big dog and a whole bunch of little dogs, which is essentially NATO and the Warsaw Pact were.
Right.
But also it gives you, it allows you to be more primus inter pares, so first among equals within the organization, and you can use that to shift the diplomatic weight. In Asia, we also in Canada has a propaganda problem with respect to China. China is nothing like what most people think of it as. It's not a communist dictatorship. It is its own thing. China's always gone its own way and has always done things differently from other countries. Even when they were communists, the Russians didn't think they were communists because they weren't doing it the same way. They have, and this is why I think we should be avoiding limiting our access to China, but they are another growing power that we will have to do business with. We have to make sure they don't rip us off. I feel though that they are going to be a more a stable partner for.
Oops, we've lost Kit Hugh for a little bit. I would be guessing that the end of that answer has something to do with being more stable partner.
Country that is use their power very judiciously. And
Kit Hugh, we lost you a little bit. Oh, there we go. Typical thing here. We lost you a little bit, Kit Hugh, at the moment you were just going into the reasons for which China you believe is a more stable partner.
Yes, because they are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. They are more stable because they have a rational interest in building their power around the world. They're smart enough to understand that they can't do what the Americans are doing. The Americans are basically isolating themselves and saying, "We are the big dogs. We'll do it our way, and you will do what we say when we say it, and we will change the rules whenever we want to." Look at Kuzma, for example. Right. The Chinese you can actually deal with them. I mean, can they be dicks? Yeah, but so can any country. For us, though, they're reliable. If you've got a country that is reliable, and you can depend on them to abide by agreements, then that puts you in a vastly better position than dealing with a country that mercurially changes their perspective at the flip of a hat, or if the president is having a bad day. So it's a lot more stable power. Now, that being said, China also has their own imperial ambitions. Where we're going to disagree or deviate from them is when it comes to how they manage their relations with their neighbors,
Right.
especially Taiwan. Taiwan is a very globally strategic place. That is where most of the advanced microchip industries production is in the world. So whoever controls Taiwan has access to most of the important and oncoming high tech equipment. So China has a vested, plus the historical baggage of Taiwan to China. They've got a very vested interest in occupying, or at least changing the relationship with China, with Taiwan, and returning it back to the fold as part of China. My fears with the American adventurism that they're doing now is they're basically giving carte blanche to any foreign power that
Right.
sees that whatever is in their interest might makes right. The Americans have already set a precedent. That's the other reason why what the Americans are doing is so dangerous.
Right.
Not only because they can be they will do things erratically and dangerously, but also because they're giving license to other countries to act in incredibly destabilizing ways.
Mm. Okay. On that front, personally, I was wondering, given that Australia is similar to us, small democratic
Mhm.
country living close to a giant behemoth, is there anything that Australia is doing in order to brace itself for what China could be preparing that we could learn from?
Well, Australia and Canada have a lot in common. Like we're kind of there are a lot of parallels, like twins or siblings, anyways. But within the British Commonwealth, but because of their political position, their geopolitical location and everything. Unlike Canada, where we were able to slack off and allow the Americans to take up much of the defense needs for North America, because it worked out. We had a strong, serious ally. We didn't agree on everything, but we could still work with them. We built the binational command of NORAD as a joint partnerships for defending North American airspace. And we got into that sort of a relationship with them. Complacency. Australia's never had that luxury because of their geopolitical position, and also remember they were actually attacked by the Japanese during the Second World War. So within their historical experience, there was always the thought that somebody might attack us, and so we have to look to our own defense. The Australian military budget is bigger than Canada's. They're little smaller than we are, but they are doing a variety of things. They are working with other regional partners, Indochina, Japan, and regional and India, and regional actors to cooperate to control or provide a leavening of Chinese imperial ambitions. They're also working now, and I think we're going to see this. If the United States, which at this time it's I don't know if it's likely, but it's certainly Trump has floated the trial balloon already. It's going to leave NATO. I can see them becoming a lot closer to an organization of, say, like-minded states. A lot of the remaining rational, smaller powers, like in the European Union, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, countries like that, are going to have to get together and coalesce. It's a tricky situation for everybody. I don't think, for as far as force projection goes, Australia does have the ability to project a supported amphibious operation. Canada doesn't have the ability for that, and I believe they don't have proper aircraft carriers, but they actually have helicopter carriers. I think they're old Tripoli class American landing ships, so they've got the ability to do forward deployments and act a little more geopolitically independently than we do.
Okay.
That's changing right now. By the time that the assuming we don't get attacked by the United States, I would imagine by this time next year we're going to see a completely different Canadian defense policy towards the Far East, and I see us working more cooperatively with the Pacific Rim nations as well.
Okay. Lots of questions on the chat talking about NATO and various things. So there's like a sort of like amalgam of all these types of things. But sort of one, does the Pentagon truly have an appetite for a battle against NATO or the rest of the NATO partners in that sense? And for example, given what I think 7 European nations got together and what they're doing to help sort of shore up Denmark for Greenland, can we expect that those NATO partners would be there for us should the United States attempt something?
No, I don't think we should expect any direct support from NATO in terms of Canadian defense policy if we're attacked or invaded by the United States. For several reasons. The most primary one is because of the nuclear question. When the Americans attack us, I'm very confident that the first thing that they say to all other countries is, "This is our sphere of influence according to our doctrine, and you will refrain from participating in it. We will do what we want to do in our space, and if you get in our way, we will launch combat operations against you." So there's always going to be that threat. But does the Pentagon have the stomach to go against NATO? 10 years ago, I would say, no, nobody in the right mind would think that that is a smart, sane, sound idea. We're not 10 years ago, though. We're in 2026. We're in a situation where the United States has essentially gone rogue. And they've purged their military of any moderates. If they hadn't, we would have already seen the evidence of that, because there's absolutely no way that they would have gone ahead with executing fishermen in the ocean or launching that aggressive attack and completely illegal attack into Venezuela, as well as other things. The fact that they're willing to go along with that tells me that if Trump tells them to jump, they'll jump.
Okay. Oh boy. So yeah, might be a good idea to start babysitting a few of those nukes from our NATO friends in that case. Asked here by Kit Tavi G. Any thoughts on gun control restrictions and how they would be implemented if people are defending their rights if another country invaded Canada? They probably wouldn't be implemented, would they?
No, our firearms laws will probably remain essentially the same. Like let's get one thing clear here. If we are in a civilian-led fight against the United States, the least of your problems is going to be shooting people with a gun. You're going to this will have most of the problems in the combat and the resistance will be an organization and will be attacking logistics, not people individually. Our gun control is yeah, I don't think that will change in a meaningful way unless we're actually attacked, in which case all bets are off. And if you can find yourself a previously illegal firearm, you'll be able to get one. I would imagine that if we are invaded, then firearms will be confiscated by the invading forces. So I would make, and because there are lists available of who's got what where in police databases. It would be a fairly simple task for an occupying power to go around to the various residences and police up all the firearms that are available. So maybe buy some ABS tubing and plant something in your backyard or somebody else's backyard.
Oops, we've lost Kit Hugh again. unfortunately. So there you go. Thank you so much, Kits and Cubs, for
It would
all of the
actually be
questions that
years.
you
I
were
never thought
putting in the
looking
chat. A
at
lot of them there. Very interesting. Hopefully, we will have a chance to get to as many of them as possible with our guest during the show today. But you're asking a lot of very interesting things. So let's see if we have him back now. Hello. Let's see. Can we hear you? Nope, not yet. All right. Just check your settings button again in case something got jiggled. Nope, we still don't have you. All right, you have to try and
there. We
come
are.
in.
Okay,
There we
something
go.
happened.
Okay, yeah,
Hey,
you got
good.
it.
I got color. I'm in color now. Yeah, perfect. Okay, awesome. Yeah. What was that movie or that show? Better Call Saul. And it was a protection job, and he says, "I don't have a gun. I don't need a gun. If I need one, I'll take one of yours." Essentially, that's what we'd be doing. Any resistance is going to be living off the resources of the enemy. But unless you've got the specialized training for that sort of stuff, a weapon like that in the hands of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is probably more dangerous to you and the people around you than it is to the enemy.
Okay.
So if you already got weapons training, I'll brush up on it a bit, I guess. But but this is not going to be. But again, this is and I guess in any sort of war of occupation, it comes down to what the individual needs to do and what they must do in order to maintain their family's safety and security.
Okay. Next question we have for you here. Do you have an opinion as to how might the Maple MAGA respond to having Trump attack or invade Canada and or its allies? Would they still favor becoming a 51st state?
I think they will. I think what you will see with the Maple MAGA people is essentially what the Austrian Nazi Party did in the lead up to the Anschluss. They will do their best to destabilize the country from the inside, working against the democratic government. And when the invasion comes, they'll be there to lift the gates and to support the invasion. I mean, lots of the bot accounts on Twitter or X or whatever they call it now are mentioning this as well. I've been watching that and looking at the increasing tempo and stridency of the commentary, and I'm quite confident that like there's a sizable minority. I mean, they're a minority, even Alberta, but a vocal minority who would be more than happy to participate and assist the Americans in defeating Canada.
So we have Quislings among us then.
Well, we absolutely do. Absolutely. And if you want to talk about victim Quisling, if it isn't PP installed as the prime minister after the usurpation of Canadian democracy, it'll be another one of these wingnuts just like him, maybe Danny the Potato or something like that. But yeah. We when I said earlier on in the first part that most of the conflict and violence and problems that we would experience at an individual level in Canada are going to be coming from Canadians. That's what I'm referring to. These are the people who will be collaborators with the government. That's immoral. That's treason. But these people are some of them are very, very firmly happy to commit treason because
And self-identifying.
yeah. So that will be where a lot of the problems are. And like in occupied Europe during the Second World War, there will be people wandering around doing horrible things to other people at midnight or at 2:00 in the morning. It's a nightmare scenario. But once you start into this, and once all the holds are right and restraints are taken off of a population like these lunatics out west, they will exercise maximum authority. So it goes back to the problem with fascism. Yeah, we got Maple MAGA problem. They're not just out west though. I mean, they're everywhere across Canada, but they're just more settled out there because they've got an advanced, more advanced and better supported system. Plus, that's the base of the CPC.
Right. Okay. Um, from Kit Uncover, will Americans use War Plan Red, and would Eight Wing and Trenton be a target in the first strike?
They would use a variation of War Plan Red. It would be like, because, like when I said before, geography dictates your strategy. So there are certain things that or places that you have to occupy in a country that don't really change. So War Plan Red, yeah, as a rule of thumb, they'd probably do something akin to that. Will Trenton be on a target? Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll probably take it without destroying it. They'll probably drop some soldiers in from the 10th Mountain Division down in Fort Drum, and occupy the base and disarm it, and then use it for flight operations. Yeah, it's a strategic center. They also will probably attack Esquimalt and Halifax as well as any of the major Canadian bases will either be targeted and destroyed, or will be set to be taken over. That would happen within the first 24 hours.
Okay. Briefly, what is War Plan Red, for those who don't know?
War Plan Red, during the early 20th century, in the lead up to, they've been doing this for a long time, but the Americans' staff systems, their Department of Defense, put together a series of rainbow plans, is what they called it. These were War Plan Orange, War Plan Red, War Plan Blue, War Plans, like, they're just color coded. War Plan Red was their plan for how to invade Canada. Our response to that was something that was created in the 1920s by a Canadian officer, J. Sutherland Brown, who was Buster Brown, who was World War One. Was he artillery? I think he was artillery. Anyways, he came up with the defense scheme number one, which was a way that Canada could hopefully hold off an American assault. Mostly these are done as staff planning exercises. All countries do this in staff college. It's a way of practicing how you go about working up your intelligence, so you know what you're doing, how you go about the planning process, and it's part of the military training. The Canadian defense scheme in this case was, if in case of war with the United States, Brown thought that a flying column of like a mechanized column thrust down into the northern eastern seaboard of the United States, then conducting a fighting withdrawal, trading space for time on American soil, moving back towards the border, hopefully to give allies in Europe, like Britain, a chance to mobilize and to come to our assistance. Yeah, I don't think we can expect that happening this time. It will come down to what we can do here in Canada. Now, this is all just speculation. Like, this is literally speculation. There's absolutely no way of understanding what actually is going to happen. I mean, let's say they attack Greenland directly. Well, Canada has limited options if they attack Greenland directly. Whether they attack us first or not, an attack against a NATO ally is an attack against us. So there will be Canadian involvement regardless of how this plays out. But do not be under any illusion that the Americans do not see us as a target and not as allies or friends.
Okay. From the previous show, there was a question in the chat or something to it with regard to civil war in the United States, and you talked about it a little bit. I guess to build on that question, is there any opportunity or any chance that civil war would break out in the United States such that it would be too much of a distraction for the United States to keep up on that push? And there was another question I saw in here that sort of related to that. Even if there's not civil war, I think it was from Kit PNC Bio, stating, can the United States fight 7 different nations on top of Canada, and everywhere else they're starting picking fights at the same time? It seems rather fanciful.
That's true. It is. Like, if you attack everywhere, you're attacking nowhere. But the first part of that question was about civil war in the United States.
Right.
If you see a civil war in the United States, it's not going to look like their first civil war. It's going to look like, remember that movie that came out a couple of years ago called Civil
Right.
War? That essentially, we're living the backstory right now. That's what it would probably look like in the United States. You would have interscene warfare like the truck across the entire United States. Never underestimate. This is the most heavily armed and arguably the most violent society in modern human history. So if they do collapse into that state, that will absolutely affect their ability to deploy forces around the world. Will that happen though? I don't know. I had thought up till probably until about 6 months ago that if the Americans ever tried anything against Canada, that would trigger a civil war in the United States, because there are a lot of good Americans down there who are absolutely horrified at what's happening, and they would stand up and do something about it. I have not seen anything in the American response that shows me that they are capable of doing any meaningful resistance to the Trump administration. So I'm not expecting them to rise up if Canada is attacked. That being said, if we are going to be fought, if the Americans attack us in Canada, sending units into the United States to cooperate, hopefully with cells in the United States, and launch spoiling operations and targeted assassinations and strikes inside American territory would certainly be a vital aspect of our war plan. We need to think about this from an asymmetric perspective.
Right.
Asymmetry in warfare is best case that you're talking about guerrilla type warfare. So how people who do not have the power of a state and the massive manpower and armaments and weapons and everything, how do you still exercise and demonstrate your will against the enemy? You can't do it toe to toe. Our tanks are not going to stand up to their tanks. Our planes are not going to be able to take out their planes. We cannot fight them like that. At that level, Canada's basically done. What we can do is build a persistent, low-intensity war, and that's...
Oops, we've lost Kit Hugh again for a couple of seconds. Hopefully we will be able to reconnect. There we go. We'll let him find his way back to us there with the chat. So like I mentioned, some really interesting questions here from the kits and cubs. Some additional comments here as well.
That's right.
There you go. We hear you.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry, I forgot specifically where it is that we had left off with regard to that.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. My thought was that if America does devolve into a chaotic civil war, I don't think that might stop them from attacking us. If they attack us, I don't think they will go into civil war if they attack us. So it depends on what happens first.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Another question that came from the show, the main show, is that you mentioned that some of the things that we could do was to have a lot of cash. And one person was wondering, I think it might have been PNC Bio, what good is cash in that particular instance? And if everybody is armed and if everybody's taking cash, then, basically creates a situation where people can, try to hold you up. So what is the purpose of having cash on hand at that time, and how would you protect it, I guess?
Carefully. The idea of having cash on hand is so that you've got at least some medium of exchange to barter for things when you need to. Will it turn into... Hopefully Canadians won't turn this into a massive, huge, like a drug transaction where everybody's got a gat and is standing around while they're passing bread back and forth. But having cash, that's a short-term thing. But it's just because you won't have access to bank machines, and if they decide to expropriate all the banks in Canada, they can basically seize all our assets. Is that out of the question? Well, they're doing the same thing to Venezuela's oil. So I'm fairly confident they wouldn't have any scruples about doing it here to us. For barter, for exchange, anything that, like during the Second World War, of course, cigarettes were used as currency in collapsed and crushed economies. Money would not be... You're right. Money might or might not be valuable after the actual attack. That's more or less a civil defense strategy that I try to maintain a cash reserve just in case bank machines are out, like the ice storm we had last winter. The other thing, I don't know if you've got access to it, pick up a few bricks of 22 long rifle, as and not for killing people, but as barter. It's probably the most effective um, uh, barter medium that we would have going forward in an environment like that, because it's practical, it's useful. You can hunt most game with it, and also you can trade it for things that you can't hunt for. So that would be an idea as well. I don't know. Keep your eyes open and be creative is probably the best bet. I sent you an email a little while ago with a link to the Swedish defense guide, which goes into greater detail about planning and how to go through your emergency system and prepare your house and things like that.
All right.
It's only 32 pages and it's in English. But
okay, including it right here in the chat here. It's called, if I'm not mistaken, the smallwarsjournal.com, the Swedish Handbook in
yes,
Case of Crisis of War, Official Resistance Resilience Brochure for Citizens. Yeah. On that front, Kit Sasi was mentioning something here that sort of leads to a question, and I hear this a lot in terms of disaster response, but other things too. What's going to really matter is local community networks. So what can we do as Canadians in order to organize on that front to have a little more, to try to build in some local resilience pre-attack should one come?
Well, do the easiest things. Talk to your neighbors. Figure out who's who in the zoo, who has what ideas and advice, and brainstorm with your neighbors and colleagues. When this if we're in a situation where we're under occupation, having offline communications and in-person communications is going to be how you're able to actually communicate with anybody without being followed or traced or whatever. Building our community is very important. If, I don't know, donating blood. I mean, if we're in a war situation, that's going to become a problem. Mm-hmm. Working, if you have CPR or any special skills or training, maybe contact your or a local militia organization. Contact them and see what you can do. In Lakefield, what are we doing here? There's some people who are looking at using the Legion Hall or the high school or the public school as a training area for basic civil defense. Simple things: how to run a radio, how to do proper voice procedure and communications, how to fix injuries and do CPR training. I mean, you could branch out depending on how bad it gets. If you want to get a little more spicy, you could. I would imagine that there are going to be more than a few reservists and ex-military people kicking around who have got extra experience and training on how to establish a roadblock and how to execute an ambush and how to get into a dangerous spot and getting out. I would caution, though, I'm not going into this with any sort of happy notions about heroic behavior or anything like that. Do not be a hero. This is going to take for a very long time. Anybody who participates in the resistance will become a target, whether you're executed shot on sight or whether you're imprisoned somewhere in the United States is irrelevant. To engage in that sort of violence, you have to be willing to suffer consequences. I would highly recommend that anybody who's got family that they're very concerned about be incredibly careful about what they commit to and what they say online going forward.
Okay. From Kid Bucky, and you might want to explain a little bit, because I don't know exactly what Link 22 is. I know you mentioned it a little earlier, but maybe a brief description of what Link 22 is. But is it really as functional as they claim, or could forces face over-reliance on sprawling software?
Everything relies on software now. It depends on the type of software that's being used. The Link system is an integrated battle management system, where each element of the system is feeding information into it so that it can be used by everybody. So basically, it gives you a God's eye view of what is happening in a battle space. Can it be spoofed? Yes. Can it be jammed? Maybe it's hard to do because a lot of this is being done also by direct line of sight communication through laser, and as well as over radio. So it's a very robust system. It's nuclear hardened, so it will resist that. And it's just basically that's sort of like the CPU that links everything, all the networks together. This is sort of like the hub system, and it distributes all that information to whatever actors. When you're in a like a NATO operation, you've got an advanced early warning aircraft, which has a sensor suite that is looking well over the horizon. You will have drones that are doing reconnaissance over the horizon in dangerous areas. You'll have ships at sea, submarines, soldiers on land, anything like that. They're all this is done automatically. It's not like you have to call somebody up to do it. This is just the communication and the computer systems linked into each other. For example, in a carrier strike force, the air defense of the carrier strike force, not the aircraft, well, the aircraft are involved in it too, but one ship like an Arleigh Burke class Aegis equipped ship can dictate and control and target the munitions from the entire formation. So say you've got a squadron or you've got a swarm of missiles coming in. The systems will very quickly, almost instantaneously, sort the target packages and list out which is the most important threat, where they're going to, what the likely targets are, and then task each ship independently. And the guys on the ship don't even have to touch anything. Then they start launching air interceptors to take them out. Things like that. It's the way that we've been doing this for decades. Like back in the day, it was Link 8, but every time they upgrade the system, they change it. It's like an operating system for Windows, really.
Okay.
Can it be spoofed? Yeah. Can it be compromised? Of course. Anything electromagnetic can be compromised. We won't, but it's really hard to burn through it, and it's a very robust architecture, to use the terminology.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I've got anything else here on the questions, either from the show. Going back a little bit, when Trump had that meeting with Putin in Alaska, was there something about that meeting that happened in that way that may have given us a hint that what happened in Venezuela and what's happening now was coming as quickly?
Maybe, I don't know. During the Cold War, we had departments in various NATO countries of Kremlinology, where basically these military thinkers would sit around and they'd go through the weeds there and look at all the residue in the teacup and everything to try to predict and see what is happening in the Kremlin, and who's having a bad day and why are they having a bad so that was the level of detail they're going into. I don't know. I mean, he's whether he's, like I said in the first part, whether he's being run directly out of an office in the Kremlin or whether he's doing this of his own volition, there's a lot of evidence to argue that he has been compromised for a very, very long time. I don't think that is going to shift the needle, though. Whatever he does, he's doing it basically to the plan that is benefiting guys like Putin and Orban and even China with their territorial ambitions. So whether he's compromised, whether he's being run by Putin, or whether he's doing it voluntarily, I don't know. That's anybody's guess. I imagine that's an historical thing. We'll find out. Hopefully, we survive this long enough to be able to write history books about it. For now, though, I don't think that is overly relevant, because he is so mercurial that he is willing to do things very, very quickly on the flip of a dime that are completely shocking. So regardless of whether he's being controlled by Putin or not, we cannot trust them to maintain any sort of bargains right now.
Okay. I guess one question that didn't come from the kits, but the personal question, is there any chance that what he is attempting to do in Venezuela uh, doesn't succeed either because the business community doesn't want to go in, or either because cartels in Venezuela offer some type of resistance that makes it very, very messy, and that how that goes there gets him to think twice or maybe even three times about trying to expand this little bout of imperialism that he's got going on here.
Yes. The short answer, yes. The American refinery system. We have to like going back a little bit here into the chemical industry. Venezuelan heavy crude is rather similar to Canadian heavy crude. It's not quite as locked up in bitumen the same way that ours is, but it's the same quality. It's a low grade heavy fuel. It requires a fair amount of specialized refining in order to turn it into useful products. Those refineries that do that are all based along the U.S. Gulf Coast. They are already running at maximum production as we speak right now. So going into Venezuela, was it about the oil? Of course, because he's always about the grift. If he can make a buck off the side, he will. I think Venezuela is about more than that, though. I think it was a trial balloon to see what they could get away with this project, more than anything else. He, like I said this morning, I was just looking at on the news this morning. They declared themselves. He's declared himself to be the acting president of Venezuela, which is insane. But will the oil refinery or the oil companies, are they happy about this? Well, they knew about this before it started, so I think they're more than happy to control the supply, whether they can use it or not, because by controlling the Venezuelan oil industry, even if you can't produce it and make money off it, you're denying it to China or to anywhere else in the world. This also gives them a lot more leverage over Canada, because they can easily cut us off or undermine our energy industry, which is why I'm so puzzled at how quickly Polyev and Smith have been to praise this intervention.
Yes.
Because all I can see is massive ramifications, negative ramifications for the Canadian oil industry. But Venezuela will be about that. Now, with respect to Venezuela, we have not really seen an invasion. Okay, we saw an actual special military operation, the kind that Vlad would dream about doing.
Yes, and then
but he didn't have the ability. Yeah, it was it was a snatch and grab, in and out, boom, 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 and they got out with the element of surprise. That's the only way that these things are going to work. If they try to go in there and maintain the oil production and try to steal away from Venezuela, and I'm not saying Maduro was a great guy. He's not a great guy, but he was their guy. And so the Venezuelans, in any situation where a nation is under threat from an outside power, generally tend to close ranks around the regime, even if they don't like it very much. We saw the same thing in Iran back during the 12-Day War. So I would expect that if the Americans try to set up a banana republic in Venezuela, run by American industry like they used to do, and it will probably go about as well as Iraq. There are a lot of people in Venezuela that absolutely despise the Americans, and it's very easy to target, to make it not easy to do any business there. But that's only part of it, because the other part of it, of course, is the denial of an energy supply to other peer actors, as it were. China also is doing an incredibly good job of moving away from fossil fuels, actively moving away from fossil fuels to renewables, and have made some tremendous progress. Americans have basically stopped that. So China is also understanding its reliance on oil from less secure sites, is reducing its dependency on those fuel products, and doing its best to maximize any alternatives. So the American hold on China with respect to resources is going to weaken as time goes on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With regard to that, I watch a podcast often, Beau the Fifth Column or Bell of the Ranch, that keeps on comparing the world to an international poker table at which everyone is cheating, and sometimes they're sliding cards to each other under the table. They're sliding chips to each other. In this, when we're looking at the national security strategy of the United States and sort of talking about spheres of influence, it seems that even certain countries are being considered as chips to be traded. As Canada, I know that, for example, they're on the schedule. It's been recently announced that the Prime Minister will be meeting with the leader of Brazil, another leader in the Americas who has no fucks to give for Donald Trump. Is there any possibility that countries like ours, as distasteful as it may seem to be on the surface, to be dealing with cartels and stuff like that, that we might be sliding a few cards under the table to some of the cartels in Venezuela to try to keep the United States a little too busy there to think of coming at us?
That would be a very reasonable strategy. Palmerston said, "No nation has friends, merely interests."
Right.
The problem with that is diplomatic blowback. If we do engage in things like that in Canada, we have to be incredibly careful that we don't get found out for doing something like that, because that could vastly compromise our diplomatic situation with the United States. Are we dealing with cartels? I don't think we're dealing with cartels. Are we dealing with opposition in Venezuela? Absolutely. I would be very, very surprised if we did not have contacts within the loyal opposition in Venezuela about how to deal with the American threat. The Americans we all have a vested interest, most nations in the world now, in order to do our best to work together to control and manage the United States as best we can. Would that slow their role in invading Canada? I don't know. I think they see Canada as being a very, very easy and quick operation regardless. I think that they are a little bit over their skis and overextended, but that won't stop them from doing things aggressively in three or more directions at the same time. They are capable of that. They do have the ability to walk and chew gum at the same time, militarily speaking, at least for the short term. Like this is like when we're talking about this sort of military action, we're talking about things that will happen in the weeks following an attack or an invasion or something like that, when this is in play. The real thing that is going to destroy the United States is the massive fallout and blowback of costs that this will create for their homeland going into the future. It took Rome what from the imperial period, from the death of their democracy, what is that? That was 79, I think. So anyways, BC. From the death of their democracy until the collapse of the empire in the West was about 300 or 400 years. We've been watching the Americans collapse slowly for about I don't know, about 80 years or so. So it's probably a little bit more compressed now because of the nature of modern societies. I think those in power are either operating out of a sense of hubris in the United States, that they can do anything, they can get away with anything because they're Americans, and by God, they are Americans. And there's also a subset of, we need to do this now while we've still got the strategic advantage over these countries before anything worse happens. We have to remember, like if you look at any of the, like, okay, United States Navy, for example, you remember that battleship that Trump was talking about there a few weeks ago. All right, the American shipbuilding industry is not effective. Like the one shipyard in China has more naval construction ability, so they can build more ships and boats and submarines and things. One shipyard in China can do more than the entire United States can in their entire country. They have a massive advantage in their ability to make stuff. They are essentially now where the United States was during the Second World War with respect to Japan.
Okay.
Japan is limited in resources. They've got good kit, got outstanding training, but they know time is running out and they have to act, and they have to act now. Same thing with the United States. Anybody who is in the Pentagon is well aware of the fact that they are being overtaken by the Chinese,
Right.
and you can't sugarcoat that. That is a natural progression. That isn't just a one-off of a bomb or a special tank or a fighter or a ship. That is their entire productive capacity, vastly exceeds what the United States can do. And they are set up in order to maintain their force structure and the regional posture in a way that the United States is not.
Mm.
The United States is still trying to, going back to Manifest Destiny. There was also somebody called Alfred Taylor Mahan, who was an American officer at their Annapolis Naval Staff College. He came up with the influence of sea power on history back at the turn of the 20th century, looking at how Britain and other empires used naval force around the world in order to leverage that to build their economies and deal with other countries. That became the blueprint for like the battleship race and what happened in the First and Second World War. But anyways, but they were looking at that as a global. So he was looking at Britain at the time at its height as a global power, which had commitments all around the world. The problem the British had in the First World War was not that they didn't have a bigger navy than the Germans did, because they absolutely did. Their problem was twofold. Number one, the dreadnought effect, which is suddenly you've got a brand new ship that is all singing, all dancing, and does everything really wonderfully, which is awesome. But now everybody knows how to make that, and it makes the rest of your fleet basically obsolete. So now you're basically leveled the playing field. That's one aspect of the dreadnought effect. The other aspect of it is pure logistics. The Americans are still trying to maintain a global posture where they are active and controlling every region on Earth. That is enormously expensive and complicated and difficult to do. You can do it, but if your ships are spread out all over the world, managing all your problems around the world, you don't have the ability to concentrate force in time and space in order to deal with a rival.
Right.
So I don't know. The Americans might be at the point where in their military circles, I'm quite confident they understand that they are living on borrowed time with respect to their capacity to act with impunity.
We are close
Those
to
are
our
the
exit
smart
time.
guys.
Sorry?
Those are the smart guys.
Right.
Because the dumb guys are the guys like Hedsketh who think that Jesus is with them, that they're going to be raptured out of here. Vaccines are bad, and they are not operating from a plane of objective reality. That's what really scares me, because we've got a crazy element in the United States that is not operating rationally. I mean, it's one thing to be evil and operating rationally, so that you understand what you're doing, and you know what you're doing is bad, but you're doing it for specific reasons, and you're following a plan. When you're not acting rationally, that means you are literally ignoring the evidence of your eyes and your ears, and just going ahead with your feels. A foreign policy for a superpower based on emotion and Jesus is insanely dangerous.
Okay. Oh my God, you're already near the end of the hour, and I had so many other questions. Got questions there
I
about
can come back.
the power of bricks and whatnot, but I was glad that you mentioned that what you were talking about, that hemispheric, sort of retreating, and how other countries are going to surpass the United States, because my sort of personal theory going with that was that the United States knows that this is coming, so they can no longer maintain that rhetoric that they give to the Americans of being like the big global superpower or the leader of freedom in the world. So we must slowly make a shift to hemispheric control, and therefore they can maintain the illusion of being like the biggest power or whatnot. Because, well, they control 4 continents, right, or a whole half of the globe instead. So just wondering if there was part of that too, just trying to maintain that narrative of American exceptionalism, because it's hard to still be exceptionalism if you're one of 5 in a multipolar world. But if you're the dominant power in your hemisphere, well, then you're still exceptional. It's all about the spin. As a PR guy, that's how I see.
That is absolutely part of it as well. How you sell this to the American people. The American strategic view for most Americans is that they are on top and they will never end, and this party will just last forever. I mean, Romans felt.
Oops. Oh no. Kit Hugh. Right at the end. Hopefully he'll be able to join us, but we are already over time with him because he said he had a hard out at 10 and it's 10:05. So hopefully I won't be keeping him too long. In addition, let's see if we have him back here. Oh, no, just disappeared there. He'll be back with us soon. So there you go. Oh, there's Kit Hugh. Let's see if we got him back. Hello. Yes.
Am I there?
Awesome. You got cut off right at the beginning of that.
No problem. Yeah, the Project for a New American Century, PNAC, there's a document that explains this. Is their previous policy paper about America as the unitary power in the world, where they are the top dog. They will maintain their dominance. They won't let any other country rise up and challenge them, and they will just do whatever they want to do forever. That was what Cheney and Bush were after at the end of the Cold War, when they saw this massive opportunity for the Americans. So that's one of the reasons why we got the Gulf War and things like that in the 2000s. Yeah, so people in the know, or anybody who understands geopolitics, understands their situation and the fact that they're not living on borrowed time. All empires are like people. You grow up, you have a period where you're a productive and adult, healthy citizen, and then you decline into decrepitude. That empires do the same thing. Societies do the same thing. So this is not something that can be fixed. But understand that empire is. It's a lot more about emotion than it is even about military power. It's about this idea, this perspective on use of power and force and what you see in yourself. Americans do see that they are the city on the hill, that they can do no wrong, and that no matter how bad it gets in the United States, it's way better than anywhere else on earth. That is going to be difficult to deal with and to fix. I don't even know if it can be done. Frankly, I would be highly I would not be surprised if the United States as a solid state still exists in its present united form in about 5 or 10 years. It's probably going to fracture like Soviet Union did at the end of the Cold War.
Oh boy. Okay, that'll change a lot around here. Kit Hugh, I know that you have to go because we already have you over time because you had hard out. But thank you so much for joining us, and of course, we will have you back anytime you have anything more to say. You always have a welcome here.
À la prochaine.
À la prochaine, mon frère. Adieu, mon vieux. À la prochaine. All right, that was Kit Hugh, Kits and Cubs. Had a little bit of Wayne and Schuster, if you remember the song at the end. Adieu, mon vieux, à la prochaine, goodbye until we meet again. So yeah, thank you so much. Lots of comments in the chat thanking Hugh for his time here and his expertise. Again, we love having him here. Again, the conversation can be get a little bleak, but it's stuff that we do need to hear and we do need to talk about, because to be forewarned is to indeed be forearmed. So thank you, Kits and Cubs, for participating in our first ever Q&A. Thank you to Kit Hugh for the idea. We had never tried this before, but it worked well. So maybe this is something we will try again with some other of our guests if we have an opportunity to do so. Kits and Cubs, that is the end of this special episode of the True North Eager Beaver interview project with our guest, Kit Hugh. Remember that sharing is caring, so please share our content with everybody you know and include a little note about why it is our content resonated with you, because that helps definitely attract the eyeballs. Kits and Cubs as well. I've forgotten. See, I'm not sticking the dismount. All right. Of course, know that we have our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words to get the audio cast versions of our show. And then, of course, Kits and Cubs, if you would like to help us, please go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where you can click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe to help us with the algorithm. And of course, as we mentioned, if you would like to support our show financially, especially now that we are now fully independent, you can do so by buying us a coffee at our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Or if you scan the QR code, that will bring you right there. And you can offer us an enthusiastic expression of encouragement for us to do more. As well, if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address, and you can send us a direct bank transfer that way. That way, the CE Tech Bros in the United States, who take a portion of your donation to us and hand it over to Donald Trump as in tribute to do terrible things to us, well, they won't get that share. That share instead will come to us, and we will be able to continue to bring you informative content of this type as a result. So thank you for all of your support. And remember that we do have memberships and super chat on the YouTube channel. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is where, again, you can send us your donation directly bank to bank for Buy Canadian. But also, if you want to tell us what you think about the show or offer us guest suggestions, articles we should read, that type of stuff, because your contributions don't necessarily have to be financial. We appreciate all the ways you contribute to the show, and we thank you so much for that. Basically, words of wisdom, Kits and Cubs, as we mentioned again in the first show, don't panic, take the time to breathe, remain clear-headed, and organize in your communities. Start talking to people in your communities, find out who knows what type of expertise they have, and how it is that you can create a way to support each other. Gardening plots, all that kind of stuff, all the basics that you would need: food, shelter, clothes, that type of stuff. If you've got people in your networks that know how to do any of that type of stuff, we have to start talking to each other and start forming local networks that will help us a lot should the worst happen. And of course, please do take the time to look up that Swedish guide that Kit Hugh has referred us to, the Swedish Handbook in Case of Crisis or War, Official Resistance Resilience Brochure for Citizens. And again, I will include the link here at the end of the show in the chat in case you missed it the first time. That way you can get it and check that out. Please, please, please read that and get familiar with some of the things that you can do to prepare. And this is not only in case of invasion, but it could serve. There's lots of tips there in case of natural disasters and other types of emergencies as well, so that you can be prepared. All right. Let's see. What else do I have? I guess that's all, Kits and Cubs. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Won't do democracy is something that you do section in this one because we did it on the first show. And I guess that's all I have for you today. So at the count of 3, Kits and Cubs, if you could just give me a little, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock, and I will come back with a very brief Canadians who make us proud section in our Easter egg. So, Kits and Cubs, at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let me hear it. Oh, yes. There's some unity. There's some unity and purpose right there. And as your faithful queen, I must absolutely live to serve. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors: the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters; CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community; and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs. Just briefly, some Canadians who make us proud. First thing to note, kids and cubs, is that the World Juniors equivalent for women has started to take place. Everything has started, so it's time to break out the flags and give them a cheer and some support. I believe, I'm just taking a look here. The first match might have been played already between the teams, and I would suspect if things went according to form, that it would be a victory for Team Canada. Looking at it, no, first games were played, but I do not believe Canada has been. Yes, no, it has been involved. Yes, see, there you go. Canada took up a win of 9-0 against Switzerland in the first round. And they're in Group A with Sweden, Hungary, and of course Switzerland playing for that top position, if possible, or top two positions to get promoted into the quarterfinals there. And of course, over the course of last week, the women's team for the Olympics has also been named, but we'll get back to that on another show to give them their proper due. As well, kids and cubs, qualifications for the Australia Open, the first Grand Slam of tennis of the year, have are on the way and have gotten started. We had 6 Canadians registered there. We had Alexis Galarneau for the men, who lost yesterday, and Liam Draxel, who will be playing later tonight to try to qualify for the men. And on the women's side, we have Marina Stekusic, who has won her first round qualification match, which is a good thing. And but I believe um, uh, two Canadians have fallen already in the first round. We had Cadence Brace, who put up a very good fight against a player that was much more higher ranked than she is, and it went to the full 3 sets and went the distance 7-5 there. Sorry, that's Kayla Cross, I should say, who went all the way, and then Cadence Brace lost her match as well. And with one more, Carson Branstein, who had a breakout season last year, qualifying for her first Grand Slam, trying to repeat the feat here in Australia. And that is about all I have for you, except for one last thing. The king himself, Michael Kingsbury, I should say, has taken gold at a moguls event for his 100th World Cup win, and he did it at home. According to Olympic.ca, Canadian freestyle skier Michael Kingsbury made history Friday night by becoming the first athlete to reach 100 World Cup victories in freestyle skiing, winning the men's singles moguls event at Val-Sécombe, Quebec. The 33-year-old from Deux-Montagnes, Quebec, scored 85.83 points on home snow. Australia's Matt Graham finished second with 83.5, and American Nick Page took the bronze at 80.96. Fired up about the milestone accomplishment, Kingsbury celebrated at the finish line as he raced into Canadian history books. Quote, "You don't get many moments like this in front of your home crowd," Kingsbury said after the win Friday. "I didn't necessarily change a lot or do much more. I just did the right things, and I'm so happy. It's hard to put into words, but I felt really good." Organizers canceled the superfinal due to dense fog and poor visibility, so results were decided based on qualification scores. Kingsbury still delivered one of the top runs of the night, executing clean jumps under difficult conditions. The victory marked his return after withdrawing from the World Cup opener in Ruka, Finland in December because of a groin injury sustained during summer training. Kingsbury said fatherhood has shifted his priorities, but his performances have remained elite even after the birth of his son Henrik in August of 2024. Kingsbury already owns nearly every major moguls record, including a record 29 Crystal Globes and 9 consecutive overall freestyle titles from the 2011-12 through 2019-20 seasons. In February 2024, he surpassed Swedish legend Ingemar Stenmark's long-standing mark of 86 World Cup wins, the most by a male athlete across skiing and snowboarding disciplines. Quote, "It still feels kind of crazy, like a ton of bricks falling off your shoulders. It feels good to know I can win 100, knowing I still have a month left before the Olympics," Kingsbury said. A 9-time world champion, Kingsbury has medaled at all 3 Olympic Games he has competed in. He won gold at Pyeongchang in 2018, silver at both Sochi 2014 and Beijing 2022. His Beijing silver made him the first male mogul skier to win 3 Olympic medals. Kingsbury remains one of Canada's top medal hopes for the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympics, where Dual Moguls will make its Olympic debut. And there's a whole lot more, but we will cut out there, kids and cubs, and present you more stuff because there's lots of other things that happened. For example, the Canadian figure skating team for the Olympics was named because last weekend the Canadian Figure Skating Championships took place in Gatineau, Quebec. And there were some surprise results there too. And so we will have more on that for you in the coming days. All right, kids and cubs, that's all we've got for now. Amour et bisous. Thank you for joining us on this Q&A, new adventure for us. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do it again. Thank you for your participation and your most excellent questions. And with that, I am gone, kids and cubs, and have a most wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. And I can't stick the dismount once again, but here we go. Now I got it.